why don't we get started? My name is Chris Alexander with the Saratoga Springs Public Library, and we're recording tonight's program, but just the speakers and the slides, not those of you at home. And I will send a link to all of you who have registered when this gets added to the library's YouTube channel, which usually is within the week. So you'll have the recording of it as well. We're delighted to be doing this program in conjunction with the Adirondack Mountain Club. And at this point, I would like to, before I say anything else, I should tell you that your questions, put them in chat. And if you could choose to have the questions go to everyone, and then everybody can see your questions, and we'll hold them and for the most part answer them at the end. At this point, I would like to turn things over to Ann Polano, who is the program chair for the Adirondack Mountain Club, and she is going to make some announcements and introduce the speakers. Go ahead, Ann, whenever you're ready.
Okay, good evening, everyone. As Chris said, my name is Ann Polano. I'm the program coordinator for the Glens Falls Saratoga chapter of the ADK, Adirondack Mountain Club. Thanks for joining us tonight. Return to Zoom for our May program. Hopefully we will be in person again for our next program in September. As always, I'd like to give a special welcome to anyone here tonight who may not be familiar with the ADK, which works to protect New York wildlands and waterways, promote responsible recreation, and provide a wide range of outdoor educational and recreational opportunities. You can go to adk-gfs.org for more information and our calendar of member-led outings and other events. And just a little add-on, we're always looking for good programs, travel programs, photographs, anything like that. So if anyone has any ideas, feel free to let me know. Our next monthly program will be on Thursday, September 15th. Longtime chapter members Mo and Jim Coutant will present a photographic journey of their trip along the coast of Oregon, the Olympic Mountains, and the Olympic and North Cascade National Parks. And at this point, I want to thank Saratoga Library, and in particular, research librarian Chris Alexander, for her invaluable help in hosting this program. And now I want to give a warm welcome to tonight's presenters. Jen Ferris is one of our Glens Falls Saratoga chapter members and also our newsletter editor. Thank you, Jen. And her friend Beth Post, here to share with us their cycling experience on the Veloroute de Bleuets in Canada. Over to you.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Chris. How are you tonight? So Beth just noticed on our opening slide here that I put 2022 after many edits. So hopefully we don't have any other mistakes in that, but we cycled last year, September 30th to October 3rd, 2021. So on that note, I'd like to get us started. There's us riding along. Nice and smooth. So I'd like to introduce ourselves. Our friends on our bike trip, Maureen Roberts and Suzy Nealon, were unable to join us this evening for this presentation. But Beth and I decided to keep on going, and we do have some video clips of Suzy and Maureen so they can share some of the story and our ride together with you. So I'm going to start with Beth introducing herself first, and then I will introduce myself a little bit more, and then we'll go on to 2 video clips and carry on with our story.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody. As Jen said, I'm Beth. I'm one of the 4 riders at this wonderful, amazing biking adventure up in northern Quebec in the fall. I'm a member of the Saratoga Striders Running Club. That's how the 4 of us met, actually. And Jen is past president of the Saratoga Striders Running Club. In 2020, I was fortunate to buy my first used light road bike, which is a Schwinn of the variety I don't remember, but from another Strider member. And if you recall, in 2020, like so many other things, bikes were really hard to come by. So I did feel fortunate to be able to acquire one. Before this trip, the longest I had ridden in one day was under 34 miles, and that was just in the prior June of 2021. So while not an avid biker, I was in the middle of training for my first half marathon road race when we embarked on our Bleuets adventure. So I did feel fit enough to give this, more than 150-mile unsupported bike tour a try. As you'll hear from our friend Suzy, if and I won't give away what she's going to say, but I'll say also that if my friend Jen said, or any one of my friends said again, hey, let's do this wild adventure bike trip, I would say, based on this past experience, I would be all in immediately to do it again. It was an amazing adventure. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'll just give a little bit of my brief biking history and how I got on this trip. So you'll hear, I said in a moment, from Mo and Suzy, but I have been hearing for several years about their epic cycling adventures. They've gone on several tours, and I've always wanted to join them. And I've been asked several times, but life has gotten in the way, usually hiking, or running, because I was working on my 46 at one point, and then I was in fit shape, so then running became a priority. In order to get ready for this, I bike to work as often as possible. It's at a minimum twice a week. I live about 7 miles outside of the city of Saratoga. And at first I was riding my son's down, I don't know, because he's younger than me, but his Trek mountain bike. And eventually I hooked up with someone who was donating bikes for a shipping container. They were collecting bikes, and there was a 1980s Japanese Bianchi that they had. And I asked if I could make a generous donation and take it from them. And that's what I've been riding since. So do I have a road bike? Kind of, not really. And have I ever carried more than what can fit in my backpack? No, but I was ready with enthusiasm to try this adventure out. And we're going to try some video clips here. I'm hoping that they work out.
Hello, I'm Suzy Nealon, the fourth member of our cycling group that cycled in northern Quebec along the Lac St-Jean, the Blueberry region. When Maureen and I have been friends a while, so when she approached me with her idea of her lifelong dream of cycling in this region, I said, sure, why not? And so we joined Jen Ferris and Beth Post, and we drove up all the way to northern Quebec and to the little city called Alma. We picked up our bikes, and I will preface this by saying that the bikes we were renting were mountain bikes with panniers, and my experience has always been riding my trusty road bike. I've ridden across the United States. I've ridden in Maine with Maureen, along the Upper Peninsula in Michigan with Maureen, and we've ridden on roads that were trafficked with lumber trucks, major roads, never
done Maine together. I know that she's done the tour, the Ragbri, I think it is, which is across Iowa. She's done that. She's done the Erie Canal with her family. So she's done Montreal. But on one of the trips, she learned about the Blueberry Route, and it was about 10 years ago. And this has always been on her mind. She heard it was a premier biking route, and it is. I mean, we did it. We've never done it before, but it was fantastic. So what you're looking at now is a bigger picture of the map. And I would love to we only did that small loop around the lake on the left of the screen, which I will show you closer in a moment. But if you go to the right, it goes all the way to the St. Lawrence River. And there's supposed to be orcas and, fords, and it just sounds fantastic. But I believe that the red markings that you see on that map show that it's more difficult ride. And I think when they mean difficult, it means it's not a dedicated bike route. So it would not be for everybody to take that route. But it sounds, you know, the scenery that I've seen looks amazing. And so this year, the Veloroute des Bleuets opens on May 15th, 2022. If anyone is interested in starting, and it closes, we did it at the end. It closes really close to the beginning of October, and that is because it could snow. And I also believe that it's also moose hunting season, and that might get in the way. That might be one of the other reasons. I'm gonna let Beth speak about this slide.
So here's a close-up of the map that was just on the screen, which is really focused on the lake. And I can't speak French or even pretend with an accent very well. So I'll ask for your forgiveness up front when I try to say some of these French words. But so that's Lac St-Jean. And I thought it'd be interesting for you all to see our daily stats. So we took 4 days to go around the lake on the route. Alma to Saint Monique, and we went through an amazing national park, Pointe Taillon, 72 kilometers or 45 miles on that first day, 1,186 feet of elevation gain, so it's not flat, 4 hours and 41 minutes. Now those stats are just rough estimates. I use a tracker and uploaded it to Strava, and so but it gives you some sense of how long we were moving on our bikes, and some of that other interesting information. The second day, we took Saint Monique, the trail to Normandie. That was 49 miles, not as much elevation, but again, not flat, and that took us 5 hours and 6 minutes. Then Normandie, I don't know if you can see, oh yeah, hopefully you can see the cursor on the screen. So Jen's pointing out our third day, which is Normandie to Bel Jaber. Only 42 miles that day and 686 feet gain, about 4 hours on the bikes. And then our fourth and final day, Bel Jaber to Alma, and our shortest day, 37 miles, 3 hours and 41 minutes. So I don't know if you want to talk about what we expected.
So yeah, if you go on the website, they tell you it's a 159-mile bike route. And based on the math, if I did it correctly, it was 173 miles. And part of that is because we didn't always stay on the route. Our accommodations were off route, or, Bel Jaber was off route a little bit just to go into that town.
Or you may feel like, gosh, I am in desperate need of a gel seat. Let's travel through town to the stores until we can try and find one, which I never did.
Right. And if you see in the top also that Ondago, it's the map you can download to your phone. So you always know where you are on their map if you need that. And then I just wanted to take a little break to say that although we are mainly in an agricultural environment for most of it, it really 3/4 of it reminded me a lot of Washington County, if anyone is familiar with Washington County who's on the call. And so the picture on the left is my lunch the first day. I'm also a vegetarian, prefer to be vegan, but I needed protein, so I had to get those. Those cheddar curds are available at almost every gas station, and they're stocked regularly. And the picture on the right was breakfast on day 2. These gas stations are like around here, like convenience stores where you can get stuff that, like a Stewart's or something. So it's not like there's no food, but it's not like that's the meal of what I call the meal of champions. And another thing you need to know is French. If you don't know French, that's okay, because not everybody knew French on our trip, but you should probably have an app for it. We did come into encounters with hospitality, especially in the hospitality industry, where they didn't know English. Restaurants, they might not know English. So at least have a translator of some kind or someone who knows some French Maureen and I remembered French from high school and college, and we did just fine. And then I'm hoping Maureen's video works. If it doesn't, I will talk about confirmations.
So in the spring of 2021, COVID seemed to be receding a little bit and the world seemed to be opening up. And so I was looking for people that would be interested in going to Canada and riding the Blueberry Route. Canada still was not open to visitors, but there was talk of it opening to Americans who were vaccinated in August of 2021. So I had a meeting with a couple of Strider friends, Jen Ferris, Suzy Nealon, and Beth Coleman Post, and everybody was excited about giving it a try. They'd read about the route. They thought that if we broke it up over 4 days, riding about 40 miles a day, that would be doable. And we wouldn't have to carry too much stuff in our panniers because we were only going for a 4-day stretch. So a plan was hatched that we would do it. And the timing, with Canada opening up in August, the timing looked like September was going to be the best time to go. And we all set the trip up looking at our schedules for the end of September, going into very early October. I had thought it was only a 6-hour drive from Saratoga to get up to the Lac St-Jean region. It ended up being 8 hours, so it's a pretty long drive. We had to then come up with the logistics of the trip, and everything I'd read suggested riding it in a counterclockwise direction around Lac St-Jean. So we decided we would start in one of the major cities on the lake called Alma, and they have bike shops there and a visitor center and maps and information, and then proceed counterclockwise around the lake, arriving back at Alma where our car was to be parked at a municipal center. We had to rent bikes because we all had road bikes, and we knew that part of the ride would be on dirt and gravel, and so we figured cyclocross type bikes with a fatter tire and some nubs on it would be better. So we reserved 4 bicycles through Equinox Bicycle Shop in Alma, and they were great about reserving those bikes for us, and they had what we needed. They also offered a service, I found this out later, of carrying your suitcase or clothing each day for you to your destination around the lake if you don't want to carry your clothing in panniers. But we thought we would just carry everything we needed in panniers. So we reserved the bikes, and next we had to decide, where we would stay. And we picked destinations that were approximately 40 miles each day in towns sizable enough to have a motel or a B&B. And that was interesting. I got information about where to stay on several different websites. The Quebec tourism website is incredible. When you Google the Blueberry Route, right away you get a major tourism site based in Quebec, and they have it in English or French that talks about the route and where to eat, where to stay, distances, that kind of information. So I used that website, and I also used TripAdvisor to kind of read some reviews about the B&Bs and motels. And I went ahead and booked different hotels for us along the route. One was interesting the first night in that I booked it online thinking I was all set, and we arrived that first night of riding at this little town, and we were kind of tired and ready to, settle down after biking all day and eating dinner. And we get there and the place is closed. It's dark. There's no one at the office. And we kind of thought, where are we going to stay? It was actually getting dark.
So on that note, make sure you have your reservations all confirmed before you take off. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit because we've got a lot of slides and we want to show you all the pretty pictures we have. But getting to Canada, we were one of the first people to cross with the new system. It's all changed now. Yes, we had to take a COVID test as soon as we crossed the border, and you heard that it took a long time to get there. So we'll just skip over that because that's moot now. here we are, day one.
Okay, so as Mo said, we rented our bikes, and there's a picture of it on the left of our bikes and our panniers, which that's the size. We each had 2 panniers, and we stuffed everything that we could into them, and we all brought a little too much. So we left some things in our car when we were getting our gear ready and up and going, and none of us missed any of the stuff we left behind. We basically had enough for maybe 1 change of our outer clothes. We had rain gear. It was unpredictable weather, so we were prepared for that. But it was 47 degrees and the wind was 4.2 miles an hour on the day we started, and we were prepared. We had gloves, layers, gaiters, rain gear, hats. We were ready to go. This is our first stop. It was the official Veloroute de Bleuets Information Center. It was about 3 miles, a little less than 3 miles from where we packed our bikes and left our car to get here. The staff were excited to chat with us and assist us. We walked away with maps. They gave us good ideas about food. And as Jen mentioned, there were really food deserts. You know, the gas stations up there that we stopped at anyway were fine and friendly, but they didn't have things made to order like Stewart's might have. It was pre-prepared stuff that, you know, grab and go stuff. So it was good to get that information. That's the one showing now. Okay, so the road is clearly marked with at least road markings. As you can see in this picture, if you look down at the road, you can see the bike lane on there. So either way, so at least had that. In some areas, there were also detailed maps like this road sign here. Day one was our steepest total elevation. It was well worth the climb. We toured Point Ion National Park, as we mentioned, on the northern shore of the lake. There are no roads in the park. So biking or hiking the 45K or 28 miles of stone dust trails along the point, which juts into Lac St-Jean, is your option if you're interested in exploring this incredible park, which we highly recommend. The park's mission is to protect the lowlands in the area. In season, there is camping available. They have 188 campsites to book mid-June to mid-October, generally speaking. Bikes are available to rent in the park, and they're free for kids. I expect to make this 6-hour drive or 8-hour drive back up someday just to go back to this park and bike, hike, and camp it. And you're about to see from these pictures why. So here's a picture. Jen's a fantastic photographer. Many of these are her photos. And here's a picture of the lake and the lowlands. You can see that the park is all about protecting. There are, this park is known for 15K of sandy beaches. And here we have 4 grown children enjoying time off the bike seats. That's why we're so happy we're not on the bike seats. Nearly empty playground. It's affordable. Daily adult access is $9.25 Canadian. Annual pass would be $46 Canadian. And one can imagine the draw to this place for families and on a sunny, warmer day than when we were there. So while this warning on the sign is clear, you know, dangerous plants and animals ahead, we didn't have to fight off any natural predators, porcupine included up there on the left. This waddling rodent was unfazed by we 4 bikers. I cannot say the same though for the bikers. There was some excited concern expressed about the misnomer that quills from this porcupine may project. Eventually, we just gave wide berth to this local inhabitant and continued on our merry way, invigorated by our close but not too close contact with nature. In addition to the signs we just viewed, there were many signs advising us we were in moose terrain. We were well aware that we were visiting during rutting season, which is late September to mid-October. Moose can be dangerous to humans, especially during rutting season. So the thought of seeing one was both exhilarating and we were on the lookout, but nerve-wracking because we sort of didn't want to see one. We did see quite a bit of evidence of their presence though, many fresh tracks like the one you see here, but we never did see an actual moose. For context, here's Suzy's hand next to the very large moose track. In this photo, you can see the lake behind Beth and Suzy. We're still in the park. The trail rises here along the lake, and it's a significant drop down. You can't really tell, but there's a significant drop down off the sandy cliff or to the shore here. Just gorgeous views. The park felt to me like large sections of types of forest and landscapes. There were beaches, pine forest, bog, this incredible birch tree forest. For some number of significant miles and kilometers, we were surrounded by birch trees, and the sunlight was, magnificent, filtering through a yellow and green hue given to it from the leaves. Here's a cool picture of Beaver Pond. And here's an example of the birch tree forest I was talking about. So it wasn't just a small section. I'm saying there were miles of this dense birch tree forest, just unlike anything I'd experienced before. We rarely came across other bikers other than a park staff vehicle or two, and I don't recall seeing any hikers. Here's more of the well-maintained trail here in the birch forest. And I'll say I happened to take this picture. And when I looked at it, I thought, man, this could be on, the front of a magazine. But it was as beautiful as this is, just the in person is still difficult for me to even try to describe. Just incredible, unbelievable. This photo shows the tip of the point of the park and the view of the opposite shore, which to me evokes thoughts of Scandinavian fjords, with the colorful homes and restaurants. As we emerged from the forest to check out the view, we could hear the lake waves ahead of us. This is a screenshot of the map from the app I used, Strava, for our first day. So it starts in Alma, and you can see we go along the coast, the shore there. We go to the point, and that's the picture we saw just a moment ago across that part of the lake there. And then because the in season, we could cross the water near that point at a ferry, but we had to continue on to the bridge to get across for this trip. Here's, we were actually, the three of us were singing, maybe the four of us, Oh Canada, except we didn't really know very many of the words, but we were having a good time. And in one of Jen's signature photos here, you can see the dock. So we're standing on the dock for the ferry to cross to Peribanca, which would be behind us. But the ferry only runs mid-June to mid-September. Thank goodness Jen had discovered this ahead of time. So we knew what we were in for, that we wouldn't be able to cross here. We had to take the literal long road to get to the bridge to get to Peribanca. Here we're near the end of the Chalet trail. I recall painfully well this tiny hill, and I'll share that I was so saddle sore at this point, I could not bike up this tiny, tiny insurmountable hill. This was my longest bike ride ever, with significant elevation, and my body was letting me know. Something I learned with this experience, though, through the wonders and miracles of our bodies, I somehow felt significantly better on day 4 of continuous biking than day 1. So the moral of that story is don't give up. It will get better. And it's not just my experience. I understand that's true. Other people say that as well. I estimate we were in the park for roughly 30 miles, and it felt contradictory. A well-maintained trail with clearly human use intention, but at the same time, incredibly remote. We stopped crossing paths with anyone. Again, we were at the end of the tourist season. The closer we got to the end of our route for the day, just our bikes, our persistence, immersed in wondrous nature. We arrived at Saint Monique, dined at a pub, resto bar, aptly named Le Repère, that's how I read it anyway, and enjoyed well-earned beer and pizza. Remnants of our pizza remained with us on our journey.
I literally scrapped it. piece of pizza in foil to the back of my bike, hoping that someone would eat it for lunch the next day.
Yeah, we never knew, we only had so much room to carry our things and a little bit of extra food. And we just didn't know what to expect in the more particularly rural areas. So we kept that pizza just in case. And we never had to eat it. Yeah, okay.
I can do it.
Okay.
So Maureen already alluded to in her video that this reservation was non-existent, and it was already dark at that time. But this was the Auberge Ile du Repos. It's a cute little place, which I'll show you on day 2 in the next couple of pictures. But we stopped here. There was a note on the sign to call. We were all like, who made their phone available to call in Canada? And Suzy was the one at the time. She called. The person on the other end spoke absolutely no English. So Maureen got on the phone and tried to talk to him. He was in the middle of dinner, I believe. He came out, checked our reservations. They weren't there. And then he just opened up a door and let us have space for the evening. Which was super generous of him. I don't even know if he took our credit card number at the time, but he gave us keys and we went and had a little wine and crackers maybe and went to bed. So day 2 is Saint Monique to Normandine. The caretaker, we convinced him through probably miscommunication. He said 9 o'clock that we could check out, and we're like, we've got a long ride. We really wanted to leave at like 7 because there was nothing to eat there and we still had to go. So we waited until 8, got him out of bed, maybe breakfast, his family time, and he came and let us leave for the day after paying. So the night before we couldn't see the grounds at all. And this was the beach that people would be able to view and use while they're there. And this is one of the buildings on the property. I was trying to remember if it was the one that we stayed in, but I feel like ours just had one door with 2 sides to it. So this is just one of the places you can rent and stay. This is it's a 2-star hotel. It's 85 Canadian per night. There's live music camping there's camping, there's a waterfront, there's a restaurant. It's off the highway, so you can't hear it. And it's been in business since 1974. And the caretakers live on the property and rotate the duties. It almost seemed like a co-op almost. They were allowed to live there, but they had to maintain. So in that food desert picture, I'm not going to go back. I showed a gas station where we had breakfast. It was in Peribonka. It was cold and rainy. And the manager of that station invited us to use her recycling room to dine and stay out of the wind and the rain. It was super nice of her. Americans during COVID were a novelty, especially a couple of weeks after opening the border. And she practiced her English while we practiced our French, which was a common theme when it was available. I didn't share this picture because it was gory. So I don't know if you've ever walked into a Stewart's or a gas station and seen an M&M display, the vampire M&M, one of the peanut M&Ms with severed hands and feet next to the M&Ms. So I just laughed at that. That was funny. But people were so flexible and generous. Everyone we met, there was a lot of gratitude going around. We were very fortunate on this trip. So this is our first wild blueberry field, the blueberry route. We're so excited to see that sign. I'm sure during the season, which is probably late July and early August, that this is filled with families picking in the field. I don't know how because they're wild blueberries, but maybe they had those little tools to scoop them up. So wild blueberries from Quebec began to increase in the 30s with access to the rail systems. And this region is one of the largest producers of wild blueberries in Canada. So we didn't get any in season. We were a little off being September, but people, obviously you can freeze them. And we definitely were able to eat last year's season of blueberries. They were amazing. And this is just the fall colors of the blueberries. These pictures can't even put into words how stunning the fields were. because you're only seeing a little snapshot. It was endless and just beautiful. So this day I like to call the country day. It was definitely like Washington County. This was a farm. It was a big farm. It was on both sides of the road, a dairy farm. And it was on a side road, which was nice. So we didn't have to stay on the highway that day. The route was marked, but since it was like a country road, it wasn't as well maintained, like around here, but it was safe. And that's just, something we saw that day. They were cute. I like animals, so sorry if there's animal pictures in here. But I knew you liked the porcupine. This was also waterfall day. There was a lot of waterfalls this day. So this was called the Chute Blanc, which is the White Falls. That was the name of the road that we were on. And then we came to more falls in Saint-Jean d'Arc. Jean d'Arc. The population of this town was a little more than 1,000. So it was a small town. And we're looking at right now from the a park, a little pocket park, the view of the old mill, which is de Vieux Moulin or Moulin. I don't know if it's Moulin. Again, my French is from a long time ago. And this is the front side. We rode around to the front of the mill, and those are the names of the people who were the owners or caretakers or, like foremen of the mill at the time. And there was kiosks there, and Mo and I were actually able to read most of the information on the kiosk signs between the two of us. So it was interesting, but I don't remember anything. And I tried to do research for this presentation, but the entire website was in French and I didn't translate it. So I advise you to stop here. It definitely was worth it, being the mill and reading the signs and looking at the falls, even from this side. More waterfalls. These are not the same. These are more like cascades, but it was definitely on a hill. So this was the Mistassini River waterfalls, and they awed us at noon and distracted us from a really good hill climb up to Dalbeau Mistassini. Mistassini is a small city that we were able to eat our first like healthy meal that reminded us a little bit of back in the States. A nice deli that we found, a gourmet deli. And that was also the first sign that there was like a sports shop, so we could look for a padded seat, a gel seat, and they were all out of them, which was sad for very sad for some of us. And then I just remember that Beth wanted ice cream, and there was a scoop shop. So if you'd like ice cream, I do a lot of things for ice cream if you go on any hikes with me or cycles. And but it was just too cold that day. This town actually, it reminded me, if you wanted to relate to something, to like South Glens Falls. There was also something when we first went there was a vaccine mandate in Quebec that just was imposed on restaurant owners like 2 weeks before we went there, and it required every Quebecois, is that the right way to say it? To get to have an app, like we have the Excelsior Pass here. So they had the equivalent with a QR code to prove that they were vaccinated in order to eat in restaurants. And we ate in a restaurant in Elma, and the app didn't work with our Excelsior Pass, but they saw that we had our vaccine cards and let us eat. And then the place in Saint Monique let us eat. I think they just checked our paper passports and like, you can eat here. Small town. In this town, even though it was still small comparatively, we showed up at a different restaurant before that gourmet deli, and the woman it didn't work, and she was just like, no service, and she didn't speak any English either. So there was like the communication problem, as well as, a technology problem where she just, the government said, I need to use this, and therefore I can't accept anything else. So that was the only time we were denied service to eat our entire time. But there was plenty of other choices to make. And this is just, I just wanted to show this sign. So this was in the city and one of the street signs, but everyone in the entire blueberry route had their own way of expressing the trail. And so this town had blueberries on top of their signs to help you just to know that you're on the route. It was just neat. And many miles later, about 10 miles later, we came into a very small town, like church, maybe post office, gas station, and a blueberry museum, because everyone needs one of those in their town. And Beth, we went into this place and it looked like a full-blown gift shop. It was beautiful. It was like you could buy all the blueberry jelly and you could buy pie, and Beth and I both got keychains, and you could have gotten your t-shirt there. But they also offered a tour because it was not just a gift shop, it was a museum. So Beth, do you want to tell us a little bit about the museum? Because
it just was so funny, because I think it was at the information center that they told us about the Blueberry Museum. We were all so excited to go to this Blueberry Museum. So it was amusing to walk into this very nice family-owned one room shop that was a museum. And so it tickled my funny bone when they took us on the tour of this one room, which is, go over to this shelf, and here's one display. And they did show a very quaint video of the history of harvesting, I think, and planting and the blueberries of the region, which Mo and Suzy, I think, thoroughly enjoyed. So maybe that's something you have to experience to really appreciate.
So you should definitely go there, though, if you're going to try.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
We bought pies, and we loved the pie. They were amazing.
So this is where we stayed. It was about 3 miles outside of Normandie, and they offered a shuttle service in a town to bring you dinner. The shuttle service was their car, of course. Very generous people. We could spend about an hour talking about this place. So all I have to say is, if you travel up there, this is a place to stay. They speak multiple languages. It's the international place to stay. It's rooms upstairs in someone's house. And it was just fantastic. Oh, it's Lac Mannequin, Manakin. And at the end of this, if anyone wants more information, we're totally available if you're going to do this tour. And we're going to try and speed it along. We're only halfway through, and I know we're stuck on time here. So we're going to try and do the rest of this in about 20 minutes so you can have questions.
Or 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, do you want? So I just want to say the meals got better. And that's a piece of the pie that you're seeing. And they get even more better. So that was breakfast at the bread and breakfast. And that was on the left was breakfast. There's blueberries on top of that, probably homemade yogurt that she made. And on the right was my appetizer for like 8-course meal at dinner that evening. So I think I'm still talking. So we left early in the morning, wear and tear on the body and just sleep was happening, but we were off and still more blueberries. It was still farmland at this time. So we're now about 3/4 away around the lake. And another thing that the info center would tell you to go to is the Bouchard Artisan and Bio, which is just a cheese store. It's a dairy barn. It's on the side of the road. You can't miss it. Even though we had a huge breakfast, we had to get the fresh yogurt made there. It was blueberry yogurt, and we bought some blueberry cheese because, again, we didn't know what lunch was going to bring us, so we had cheese for later.
Okay, so there were a variety of types of roads and paths that this route took. And here's one of the best kinds that we enjoyed, which was off the road. So there's no road here. It's just this bike trail along the rail that's dedicated for biking. It was fairly flat or rolling, and it just was super comfortable. No big tractor trailers going by you. and beautiful scenery, farmlands, fields. So the Canadian National Railway Company is plugging along here. We were so excited that we actually crossed paths with a train. We stopped, and of course we had to wave to them, and we imagine they waved back.
Here's the picture of them waving back, really.
Can you see them wave there?
No, but let's pretend. That's the close-up. I was happy to capture the train. All right. So my apologies now. We actually crossed over native land while we were there. And I promised that I was going to learn how to pronounce this, and I cannot pronounce the end of this. So it's Mastiyach. So I'm going to spell it for you, and I can share the name with you. It's Masteuiatsh, and that's the part I have a problem with. So it's the First Nation of this region of Quebec. And it was about 6 kilometers from the next major city. And this is where we had lunch that day. We ate our cheese. And off in that distance there that we're looking at are thousands of snow geese. And if anyone, I've never seen them when they've come down here. I was super excited to see them on the lake and flying and just flocking. So snow geese, that was our view. And here's more, just to show how many they were. And this is, again, just a small piece of how many were actually there.
You get a sense there too of how large the lake is.
You can't see the other side. Yeah. And after lunch, we went to the museum, and we spent, probably 2 hours there. I went on the website and took a snapshot of the picture on the left. I feel like that might have been our tour guide. There was a young gentleman from the nation who was working in the museum as a docent. He spoke English. The guy who was taking the money, not so much, and they worked together. And it was interesting trying to explain their own culture in the museum in broken English and French. But they did it, and we got a back of the scene tour of an archaeological dig. It was a great museum to see. We weren't allowed to take pictures at all in there, so that's why I have the outside. But this culture is over 1,000 years old, and they're the Inuach of Lac St-Jean. And I know I'm saying that wrong, and I apologize, but it is a must-see museum. And well worth her time spent to get there. I mean, the benefit of Beth showing you the times that we were there, we took all day to get to our places. So we might have had active time of riding for 4 to 5 hours, but we were 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., from bed to bed, basically. And I'm going to stop for a moment. Actually, I'm probably going to show that video. So one more video, hopefully it works, but we only had one incident of the entire ride. So I remember riding, arriving to a town, turning off a semi-busy stretch of road with, tractor trailers, which were still few and far between, but it was a road. And at the turn, and there was a painted bike laid on the road, and I feel like there was pylons. And there was 2 lanes, but they were very narrow. And coming up the hill was a older woman in one of those riding scooters. And, we were trying to get her attention, but I know we were yelling at her in English, and she probably had no idea what we were saying. We're going left, and she's probably like, what? So, but it was a sign of things to come. And I'm going to see if I can get Suzy to share her unfortunate story in her own words.
Towards the end of the day, with 20 miles to left to go to our destination, I had a bike accident. I was avoiding this elderly gentleman who was coming towards me in my lane. And if I went to the right, I would go into traffic. If I went to the left, I would go into a wall. And that is what happened.
So this is about where it happened. I was trying to find it because it happened in so fast, but yet in slow motion. And we all were very shaken up, but more so Suzy. And the man stayed with us for less than a minute, probably hearing English hysterical women speaking, and he walked away. And that was aggravating and upsetting. But Suzy brushed herself off. We did a check of her physical condition. We gave her hugs and ibuprofen, and off we went, because there's not much else we could have done at that time, or at least we weren't thinking at the time there was anything else that we could do. So we arrived at the village of Bel Jaber. It was founded in 1901 and soon saw success as a pulp mill created by Bel Jaber at the base of the Lac St-Jean Falls. However, the success was fleeting as the abrupt closure of the mill in 1927 led to the desertion of the entire village. It became a park in 1960 with over 70 original abandoned buildings. Bel Jaber has been described as the best preserved ghost town in Canada. And here is where we stayed. And we were both on the top floor, side by side. Didn't hear each other. It's very nicely done. And this is the accommodations on the inside. And this is Suzy describing her painful shower. She realized that she really was hurt, and but also how she enjoyed the meal later. It was like an 8-course meal. And this building here is the housing for the workers. It was probably the exact same structure that they renovated for the hotel for tourists to stay in. And inside, you could walk inside and see they still had like original wallpaper up. It was pretty neat. Here's another. This is a schoolhouse. Of course, it was a religious schoolhouse, and it has a 1915 sign or number on it. And then here is the falls, like rising. Like we walked up. While everyone was getting settled in, I went out. I'm like, I'm going to see these falls. And when we walked up the road, this is literally what you saw. You thought the falls were going to come at you. And at night, they illuminate the falls just like Niagara Falls, all the colors. And that was the best picture I could get. It's, as anyone's a photographer here knows, it's very difficult to get an evening shot in without a tripod, which I was not going to carry on my bike.
Okay, so day 4, our last day, we've got an injured partner that we're, keenly aware, and really not a great plan to deal with that other than just to finish the ride and enjoy it, and the views as much as possible. We didn't know exactly what Suzy's situation was. It turns out that she had a broken clavicle and finished that day, and then finished this last 4th day with, it was a little quiet, but you would not know otherwise. So we had high praise for her. But here's okay, so we went from Bel Jaber to back to Alma. The view from Chambord, when you group ride with your friends, you can only go as fast as the slowest person because you support each other and you want to experience the ride together. So we knew she had to get back to the car, and so obviously we did that in a way that was most reasonable. So we wanted to be quick and thinking about her capability too.
With that said, we hardly took any pictures on the last day. So here we go. We're riding to the end. Of course, I had to take this picture because I like roadside attractions. And there was actually a hill right next to this, and people were taking their time up that hill, except for Beth, whose nickname was Speed Racer, because she could speed up the hills. But I stopped to take a picture of this place.
And I just want to say something about that, speeding up the hill. So I'm not a well-experienced bike rider, but I really learned on this trip how to shift to advantage. So I was able to shift at just the right times, just through this experience, to take advantage of those gears to help me get up those hills. And it was a really cool thing.
So I'll just quickly say, even though I this supposed to speak, this is a picture of a steel bridge, but right before this steel bridge, this was probably the only time we kind of messed up riding on the road besides the accident. I was following the road. I must have missed a cue to go do something else. And we were going over this river with cars coming at us. So I took the little sidewalk that's usually on the side of bridges for pedestrians maybe to walk on. So 2 panniers, maybe a hair between the rail and the road, made it across, but everyone's like, I can't believe we just did this. And I had no idea what they were talking about. I was oblivious.
It was a big mistake because we were following one another on this very narrow, not appropriate for biking, probably not appropriate for walking path, with traffic coming toward us and the railing of the bridge to our left. So if any one of us had made just the smallest of mistakes, we would have ended up, right in traffic. There was no room for error. And, that thought was in my head the whole time. I was, keenly paying attention to not screwing it up. None of us screwed it up, but it was a learning moment.
Yeah. This is also Fabienne. Pat, if you're out there, hi. I shared these pictures, I believe, with you. But this is outside. Again, this is a trading post. I found this out afterwards because we were trying to let people rest because it was the last day, but also move along. So everything was like, all right, 5-minute rest, but hey, here's an opportunity to take a picture. So there's an outbuilding here, and I don't think it's that church-like structure on the back, but this is an archaeological site, and the outbuilding, the trading post, was built between 1760 and 1788, and it's the only surviving building of the trading post that's at the head of a river on Lac St-Jean. And just another, when you're on a rail trail, you want to see trains. So here's another one.
A good view of, another portion of the bike trail, so you can see how well marked it is in some areas, and then in other areas, just along the side of a road.
And we came across what we thought were more snow geese. I don't think any of them were. So most of these were probably decoys. We knew that they were acting funny or not acting at all. Like their heads were just wrong and they weren't moving. And as we were enjoying perhaps the last of these snow geese, and Beth noticed movement in a mound, and a hunter came out of his blind. And he was mad at us because we were just talking and taking another rest and trying to take pictures of the snow geese. So I'm a vegan, so I was definitely am not a fan of hunters, even though I know they need to eat too. And Suzy got the most upset because she was so enamored by the snow geese on the lake before, and she just couldn't fathom how someone could shoot one. And I was so happy. I was like, yay, I'm getting another vegetarian. So I don't know if she is one now. I haven't asked her, but it was an interesting moment on our trip.
Here we're on our way back to where we began, and the seasons are changing and the beauty is everywhere.
And this is us losing our minds, basically. So we're back actually on the opposite part of the beaches of Point Talon. They actually have another part, and this was a camping area that was newly created. And there's a river, or there was a bridge here that crossed a dam. But we loved the danger side, so we were pretending that we were in danger. And this was a Sunday, and it was a very nice day. So we started to run into more people because we were getting closer to Alma, which was a popular route just to go to Alma to the beach, the first beach that was available. And so they're actually running across this bridge because there was bikers right behind them. We couldn't enjoy. But since I went ahead of them, I was able to take a picture from the dam. And this is water heading to La Petite Décharge. I'm going to let Beth do the last couple slides.
Across the imaginary finish line, you can see Mo very excited here. We did it. We packed the car and rode our bikes back to the bike shop. We had a plan in place to lock the bikes and slip the key under the mat because the shop wasn't supposed to be open, but they surprised us and did have someone waiting. So then we drove from Alma back to Montreal and decided to check out Mount Royal Park. So here are Suzy, Mo, and Beth atop Mount Royal, overlooking the city of Montreal in the background. After 4 days and many kilometers on our bikes and significant hours on our bike seats and one bike crash, it was a 400 stair climb up a wooden staircase to the top of Mount Royal. We did not do that. We were in no shape to do that at that time. But I have done it, and it's worth the 3 hours one might want to dedicate to doing so, especially for any hikers. Instead, we paid to park nearby the top and walked approximately 1 mile along the road to the overlook. Behind Jen, who was taking the picture, is the impressive Mount Royal Chalet, which is a large and ornate open-air building with the observatory on which we were standing in front. In non-COVID times, the building is available to wander through, and there is a gift shop and small cafeteria with bathrooms available inside.
And that is basically the end of our story. I did have 2 more videos, but I didn't want to take any more time because I wanted to leave time for question and answers, and anybody who wants to stay longer can. Wanted to keep this to an hour, and as we went over because we get enthusiastic about this. Suzy and Maureen would obviously do this again. Suzy would prefer to bring her own road bike, which is well-minded. And I remember us talking and Suzy saying also that she would never self-support again. She really enjoys the supported rides. I liked the self-support because I like winging it and not having the destination really. That's not always feasible. That's how I like to travel. And Maureen's favorite part was, besides every day had something special, she really enjoyed the first day with the park. I'll let Beth close out and say any parting words you want to say, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. This was the most amazing adventure of my life, and I've had some really cool experiences in my 56 years. So I would do an unsupported bike ride again with the caveat of figuring out certain things like what do we do if somebody's bike breaks or we have another incident, injury, or illness. Having a backup plan is obviously a good idea, but I would absolutely do it again. So hopefully there are some questions. Thank you all for listening to our adventure and letting us share it with you.
Thank you very much, both of you. That was really amazing. And we do have some questions. I'll read them aloud to you and I'll let you answer them. So you can stop sharing, Jen, if you'd like.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if you experienced breezy, windy conditions. Is it a windy region?
We were super lucky. It wasn't bad when we were there at all. And we were stuck with our dates. Like we couldn't, it was like, these are the dates that all of us agreed on and we couldn't do anything different. People can be flexible with their rides. Obviously you can choose nicer days to go, but that's, it's because it's a drive. I mean, I don't even think you could fly an airplane there. Like you have to drive there. So it's 5 hours north of Montreal and 5 hours north of Quebec, whichever way you go. Quebec City. So we didn't have any wind. We had some drizzle. We had, 38 degrees some mornings, but in general, we lucked out.
That's great. And Tony says, thanks for the tour of your adventure to some beautiful country. And then Anne asks, how much did the equipment you carried weigh?
Yeah.
That's I tried to pack in a backpack, like a 28-liter backpack, thinking that that's what would fit in the sides. I think we wore the same outfit every day. So the stuff that was in our panniers, yeah, like 1 or 2 changes, and then the extra gear for warmth. I had a camera, which was non-negotiable. So I don't know, 15 pounds, maybe?
Essentially 2 small backpacks attached to both sides because we needed rain gear because it could have been, it was rainy for a couple hours, I would say. But
we were bare bones, like no, you know, like we thought we were going to go swimming in the lake. The bathing suit stayed behind, you know, we just.
It didn't seem to really slow us down. I mean, the weight was not a factor for me. Was it a factor for you?
It wasn't. No, it was awkward. Like if you wanted to put your bike down, it was hard to negotiate, but it wasn't heavy. Beth and I are new to this, so we have no idea what it would be like if somebody carried our gear for us. So we don't even know better. But I can tell you, Suzy would say, never again.
So Jim said wind aspects, capable of cruising at 17 miles per hour, 27 kph on a flat road in calm conditions. Your speed into a 20 mile per hour headwind can drop to a pedestrian 7 miles per hour for the same power output. Lakes often have open winded conditions. So thanks, Jim. And the next one is Pat saying, what about what percentage is off-road versus riding on roads?
I would say at least 75% was off-road. When I say off-road, off the truck route road.
Okay.
There was, so around the lake is like a truck route. It's better than any US road I've been on. There is more than 3 feet margin. I mean, and the route can be done clockwise or counterclockwise. So they actually have it designed so that when there's 2 bikes can pass each other, you know, going in opposite directions, plus the buffer of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never felt like I was unsafe. Like the new one, you know, on Route 9N, there's sometimes no shoulder, it's cruddy. I mean, I can't say that the entire thing was smooth sailing. Like some sides of the, you know, some municipalities could use more money to make the route nicer or off-road. There's potential to keep it all off-road eventually, but.
And Jim is asking, is it possible to visit the Indigenous Museum?
Yeah, we went in. Yep. We spent 2 to 3 hours there.
Okay, and Bob says GreatCanadianTrails.com website has this trip and others where they will move bags and make reservations for you for those who want help organizing.
Yeah, so Maureen's video, which we did not get to hear in the beginning with the introduction, talked about more about the setting it up. There's great websites there. We were going right after the border opened, and they were hardly even open as Canada as a community with COVID. So
much less tourists.
Yeah, so they were not, I don't even know if they had during the summer for Canadians an infrastructure to support a supported ride for anybody. It was really
shut down.
It was
very
shut down.
Still.
Yeah.
You guys were trailblazers, there's no doubt about it. And Jim finally says, glad it was not that windy for you all. So I think that's the end of our questions. Thank you again, Beth and Jen and Mo and Suzy. What a ride you guys had.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Thank you all.
Good night.